Hello guys, welcome back to Pause and welcome back to Parkitect Build. This is part 7 and in today's episode we start finally on the first area of this theme park. So the area that we're doing today is through the mountain. As you can just see now, I'm just finishing the other side of that, and we are starting on an adventure theme. So it's not going to be strictly western or sort of jungle or pirate. It's not going to be specifically any of those things. It's just going to be very adventure. So I'm trying to keep it as generic as possible, which gives me the added bonus of adding whatever theme I want within that bracket. So that's the plan. I was just testing out a few of the scenery items here that you can actually expand, like the rocks and stuff, which I've not actually played with yet on this build. But yeah, you can sort of scale those up and down as you compare it to that side, and that side looks a little bit different. Whether I prefer the other side with the smaller rocks, that's debatable. I think I probably do. However, I can always go back and add more to rock work. So we add 2 new rides in this build, and I will show you exactly what those are as we get into it. So I'll just try testing out, see how it looked from the guest journey. I don't know why it's blue under there. It's very strange the way it renders that, but that's fine. Yeah, so I'm doing 2 rides. One of them is just a little carousel, and the other one is kind of a dark ride, which is a very strange thing to begin with on one of these kind of builds. However, the idea I'm going to with this park is you walk through the Disney Castle and you've got various dark rides. That's kind of what I want to go for here, just with different themes. So again, it's not a direct copy of the Disney parks, so I keep saying blah blah blah, but I want to try and take as much influence as I can really of that. So I just put a little bit of an entrance plaza in first before I get cracking with the ride, and I'll talk you through what my plans are with that once we get there. But at first I thought I want a nice little entrance. So the way I try and do it here is, at first I was going to do like a little sign with the wooden supports, and I thought no, we'll add some large cactus or cacti, whichever one it is, and then obviously if signage ever becomes part of this game, which I'm sure it will at some point, then we'll pop a little sign across there that I can edit and have like a little have some word in there, and I'm pretty sure signage isn't in yet. If it is, I haven't found it, but that's the plan for that big cactus. Just have a nice little entrance sign across there with whatever the area name will be, which I still want some ideas for. So if you've got any ideas, put them in the comments or let us know. So for now I'll just use these scrolling signs just until we can get actual signage in this game. So yeah, that's the entrance area sorted. And now I was thinking, right, what kind of trees are around this area? So I kind of use these little round ones as the kind of outside trees. And pardon me. And then a lot of this is going to be cactus. Mainly cactus, bits of dry grass, and some of the little cactusy type, what they're called, prickly pears, and little ball cactus and things. So I'm just trying to try and use as many of them as possible, because there's not really going to be any other area of this park where I'll be using cactus. So, and there's quite a lot of that in the game at the moment, so might as well use it where I can. I thought, where can I put these little maps? Put them just near the entrance area, just so there's still a little bit of utility in the park, so people know exactly where they're going. I thought, let's put some little theming elements in, like barrels and such, just give the area a little bit of texture, and then literally anything that I can sort of make a tangible link to adventure, I'm going to use in this area. So this is where I was planning what I was going to do a ride. At first I thought maybe a flat, and then I thought no, I want something in a building. So I'm using these, which are kind of spacey motion simulators, which I know you're probably thinking, wait a minute, how does that fit with adventure? Well, it doesn't. However, ignore the actual ride system and the video that it's supposedly playing. These are purely there as a method of an indoor ride. If this makes any sense, I don't know. Anyway, that's my idea. So there's going to be anyone who's been to Epcot in Walt Disney World and been on Mission Space. There is a kind of it's basically a simulated style ride that uses kind of centrifugal, is that the right word? Like forces to make you feel as if you're taking off in a rocket. But it has 2 different versions. It has like a sort of a low, what's the word I'm looking for? Low intensity version, and then a high intensity version. And that's kind of the idea I'm going for with this. It's going to be an indoor dart ride, obviously, that's why it's in a building. And it's going to have 2 different versions. One intense and one not so much. So it's catering for everyone within the family, really. And that's kind of the plan for this building. I mean, again, I know they're rockets, but I do fence everything in so you don't see that. It's in its own little building within the big main building, so you don't actually see the ride system. But again, it's purely a ride system, the same way as you've got Star Tours in the Disney parks, which is obviously quite very similar to these style simulators that are just here. And then used to have a ride called Body Wars, which was themed around the human body, which used exactly the same ride system. It just happened to be a different theme. So that's essentially what we're doing here. There's going to be a hidden ride system, which is this rocket looking thing that, if this was a real life park, would play some kind of adventure theme, adventure themed video and experience. I imagine it'd be in 3D and it have loads of effects inside there. You know, quite a modern ride. I know simulators tend to be a bit old and dated these days, but that's the idea at the moment. And obviously a lot of this stuff is going to be conceptual because there's only so much in the game at the moment. But a lot of it is down to the imagination, and that's what I think a lot of these dart rides are going to have to be in this game anyway, as I don't have the props and the ride systems to really do much else. So that's generally the idea with this build. I will be doing a fair few dart rides in this park, as I want it to seem relatively realistic. And that's the best way I can think to do it, is by doing dart rides. As the style of the park that I'm aiming for will have quite a lot. Like I said, I keep referring back to like Magic Kingdom and Disney parks, where they have a fair few dart rides. So that's the plan here. So yeah, we'll just build the building together. And this is where I sort of separate the 2 ride systems, just to make it a bit more hidden, as they are a little bit of an eyesore. So yeah, going forwards, I mean, there are sort of track rides in this game for doing sort of tracked dart rides, which we will do a few of, and there'll be one in this area as well. So there's going to be a mixture between my plan, I think, for this area is going to be this indoor dart ride, a tracked dart ride, a couple of flat rides, maybe 2, 3 possibly, and then some kind of thrill, so maybe a coaster or something like that. But it'll probably just be a family thrill ride, with this being generally the first area of the park that you're drawn to, as naturally you're going to go through the mountain into this area and then sort of disperse from there. That's generally the idea. So to make that kind of work, like I said, I want to make it as family orientated as possible. Some of the bigger thrill rides we will put out into the different areas of the park. So maybe some kind of like mine train coaster or something, I don't know, something like that is going to be in this area as well. And it's going to be a relatively large area with probably different sub themes once we get into those. As of this morning or yesterday, as of recording this video, which is going to be like a week behind, a new devlog from this game has been released, showing a few new pieces of theming from a fantasy theme, which that doesn't fit in with the adventure style that I'm going for here, but that does give us a little tidbit of a new theme for potentially another area down the line. It kind of had really bright, colourful, like mushrooms and plants and things. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. As I'm sure they'll be Alpha 16, which is just around the corner. I'm sure that'll be out probably this month, probably the end of July, maybe the start of August. So hopefully there's some new rides and themes that we can get our teeth stuck into once that drops. So back to this ride now then. I just want to give a little bit of a theming to the queue. I know it's not much of a queue line here, but there's going to be quite a few rides in this area, so it doesn't really need much of a queue. I have left a bit of space inside if it needs to be expanded, and especially around the exit area I can extend the queue up there as well if need be, but I'm quite confident that'll be enough queue for that type of ride, to be honest. Again, obviously if this was a real park and this was the equivalent to a Disney style dark ride, you're looking at like Peter Pan's flight, which gets ridiculous queues. Obviously that would have a bigger queue, but I don't think this needs it. So I'm just putting it all to sort of deep black, and they're the different themes at the moment you can get, which are all very spacey, but that's fair enough. Yeah, a deep black to try and make it blend in a little more, so if that was a real indoor area you wouldn't really see the ride system. That's the plan, the idea. A bit like when you do get into Star Tours, it's kind of a dark room and you can just see some sort of doors in front of you to kind of disguise all the mechanism. Imagine that is what this is. Again, I know I'm going to be referring to the Disney parks quite a lot in this build, and that's generally because they are my favourite parks in the world, and a lot of my inspiration will be taken from those, but obviously executed in a different way, as this ride here you can see is quite clearly a very different style to what would be found in a Fantasyland, which is where this area would be if it was a Disney park. So yeah, that's generally what we're doing here. So once I've finished with that one, pop the old roof on, and finish this building. And as you can see from the front of this building, I've got a sort of path off to the right hand side. So I didn't want it to be right and left, so it sort of like splits three ways as you get to here. I thought I'll have a little bit of guidance with where my paths go, and then bring it around the back of the building, and then it kind of extends out a little bit more into the area. Now obviously as we get into this more, all of the areas of the park will link into each other. So if you imagine the hub that we've got in the centre of the park, where we have the lighthouse and the sort of water area, that's kind of your centrepiece. And then you'll have different areas branching off left and right of that one, with this adventure theme being sort of directly straight forwards. So all of the areas will link in one sort of massive circle that all goes back to the central hub area. That's the plan. So we'll see how we get on with that as time goes on. So just adding a few little path extras now, benches, lamps, bins and that sort of thing. I'm going to try and add those as I go, so each area is kind of finished as we are getting to it. The floor and the colour, yes, we do change as we get to the end of this area later on. So don't worry about that. All the grass does get covered up, so don't worry. So I'm just making these paths join up just here to give it a little square area. And then we add a couple of sort of exit only signs at the back of this building, which a real park would have. So they're pretty handy, these signs, because you can specify them to no entry for different staff as well, which I don't know why you would use that in real life, but I mean it gives that option. And then even though it's ticked or whatever the area that you the person you want it to be no entry for, you don't have to have the default message displayed on the screen. You can put whatever you want on there. So even if it was a no entry to a staff, you could have like "Welcome to Happy Fun Times" on the sign if you wanted, or whatever, something like that. So another little build now starting here. This was just a very quick thing, more than a test than anything, to see how the diagonal pieces worked in one of the building sets that I've got. Now I'm not very happy with this building, to be honest. So it may be demolished in some point. Like I say, it was just purely. It was kind of a test to see how these pieces could work in a different way, and then I kind of put this like different height kind of posts canopy thing on it. Again, I'm not too happy with it, but I thought I'd just try and see what happens. I kind of, at the moment, I use this building as toilets. At first I do put a few shops in it, but then I thought getting the staff paths to the shops, I'm kind of limiting myself here. So I always want there to be a nice staff route for stock in any of the shops that I build. So that's why I take these out in a second and put the toilets in. We do a little bit of work on the utility areas and the staff areas in this adventure zone. I kind of link it to the side of the dark ride building, which you will see a little bit later on in the video. And I actually do some underground tunnels for staff and more of the underground piping. So again, linking back to Disney, as they have with the Magic Kingdom in Florida, they have what they call the utilidors. So the whole theme park is kind of built on the first story, so to speak, and then underground, so on the bottom level of that whole theme park is underground tunnels for staff, and it's where all their sort of admin buildings, security, staff rooms, all that kind of stuff belongs. So on a very primitive level, that's what we're doing just here. So I had a little bit of trouble linking these up. As you can see, it's still not quite linked just there. So I end up turning sort of all the scenery and buildings and paths and everything off here just to try and figure out exactly how to get this linked up. And I couldn't remember what the shortcut was for disabled trees, so I just deleted them. And I'm sure as time goes on I will remember what that shortcut is. So yeah, this is where I just sort of fiddle in to link it all up, and we get there in the end. It just took a little bit of time, and there we go, we've got the corner. And then we've linked up, and that's our second depot. So as long as all these depots are independently linked, anything within the area of that depot, all the shops and things, I can link to that, and then the stock will automatically appear just here. So like I said, I build it as part, sort of into the side of this building. So from pretty much any angle, you won't really see it. And even if you do, it just looks like a side bit to the building. So that's the idea. Like I said, I won't want everything to be hidden but have a purpose, so there's a reason why everything's there. In a minute you'll see the sort of ramp and underground path that I use for the staff just kind of show a little bit to the side, and as a temporary measure I do add a few little random trees around it. That's not a permanent measure. I will be hiding that a lot better, and again probably under another room, another building, rather than having just an outdoor area. I'll probably just extend this out a bit more. It depends what I build around this. I mean, we'll see as time goes on. So this is where I kind of decided to go underground with it and make a little corridor to link up to this staff area here, because I want everything to be, like I said before, as realistic as possible and as hidden as possible. And that's why I've started with these underground tunnels, and that's something that theme of underground, not really seeing the staff, is going to be quite common around this park, and I want that to be a good feature of this park, to make sure staff aren't walking around, and that's one thing I can control, so that's what we're going to do. This is what I was on about before, when I was just seeing how hidden I can make that through the trees. I will probably, like I say, put that into a building, so that pathway is hidden a lot more. But that's something we'll figure out down the line. So that's the basic start of the adventure zone in terms of the staff and the utilities. That will obviously expand a bit more as time goes on. And here I just thought I'll start with one little flat ride, and we'll put a little bit of a carousel in. A nice little queue line that goes sort of through the trees, and there'll be a bit of theming in there eventually as well, and a little pathway, so it's sort of hidden off to one side, but you see I do sort of mix it in with some rocks and bits of theming and stuff as well, so I think it fits quite well. Again, if this was a real park, it wouldn't be themed to a carousel as it is now. I'd probably have sort of maybe a more adventure-y theme on there. So I know I keep saying adventure, very random and very generic term, but it kind of fits with what I'm saying. So a good example of this, anyone who's seen the new carousel that Chessington down in London have just put in, it's sort of themed around different animals, and it's kind of like a big tree. I think it's called the Chessington Adventure Tree or something like that. So that style of ride is what I envisioned with this build. So if you haven't seen what that is, just Google Chessington Adventure Tree and you'll see the idea. And obviously, again, I'm limited at the moment with the pieces and things we've got in the game, but that is what this represents just here. Now I've put a kind of darker colour scheme to it, and like I said, it's slightly up on a hill, so it gives everything that little bit of depth, and that was one of the main things I wanted in this park when I was doing the scenario for this area. I wanted it to be very varied with the terrain, with the hills, the trees, the lakes and that kind of stuff. So naturally I'm going to try and build as much stuff into the surroundings as possible. So if you've got a little hill, I'll pop something on there, and then when you're down on ground level, it really gives that nice little feeling and a good view, and a good example of depth as well. and that's why I keep flicking back to the first person camera. It's really helpful actually with these kind of builds on these sort of kind of 2D games, because from this angle everything looks really flat, but as soon as you get down to that level you can see that everything does have its own little textures. So yeah, I was just finishing off the little ground around the area that we've done today. Now it's time to put in a few little trees to give the area a bit of life. Yes, it's very barren at the moment. This will fill out as time goes on with different rocks and theming elements and rides and pathways. It's not going to stay as square as it is at the moment. There's going to be little branching paths, there'll be little walking areas through rocks and caves and things, so there's a lot of other bits that we're going to add to this park rather than just sticking on loads of rides. And I want to take my time with it, and I don't want to just throw everything in and then work on the theming afterwards. I want it to all come together, and that's the plan. So that's about it for this episode, and that's about it for the first part of the adventure themed area. I'll be doing more on this very, very soon, so for the time being, please give us a like and a comment down below if you have any suggestions or anything to add, and I will see you in the next video. So thank you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.